As you already know, Blueprint is one of the strongest jokers in Balatro. You want more molts? You got more molts. You want more chips? You got more chips. You want more gold? You got more... Wait, that doesn't work. But here's the thing, you may not be using Blueprint to its full potential. What's funny about jokers in Balatro is that they trigger at different times. Scoring jokers all activate as soon as you hit play, but certain jokers trigger on discard or when a blind is selected. This means that by moving the Blueprint at the right time, you can use its effect on multiple jokers, and especially at gold stake, little optimizations like this can make or break a run. Let me show you what I mean. So for this run, I'm playing the yellow deck at gold stake, which means that I get 10 bonus dollars at the start of the run. And with those 10 bonus dollars, I get to buy both Even Steven and Golden Joker in the first shop. This is a really great start for me. Even Steven is a really effective bridge card that will get me a little bit of bonus mold that will get me through the first couple of antes. Golden Joker, on the other hand, will get me more and more gold over time. And because I've seen it so early in the run, the total value I'm going to get out of this Joker is really high. And then of course I can eventually use that gold to roll into better Jokers or buy something really expensive and powerful that's going to help me win the run. Right away, in the next shop, I see a Burglar from a pack. And Burglar is of course a really good pickup as well. Getting 3 extra hands effectively doubles your potential chip output, and if you don't use up all of those hands, it instead gets converted back into money for you to spend on something else. The downside of course is that you have fewer discards. So ideally I'm looking to build a pair or high card strategy because pairs and high cards I can hit consistently without relying on discards to control my hand. In the next shop I see Flash Card, and Flash Card might be one of the best jokers I could have seen here. I already have 2 economic jokers, and so seeing Flash Card means that I can spend my money on rerolls, and those rerolls will naturally scale my build. And of course, as I'm rerolling, if I do see any jokers that I want to pick up, I can very easily sell something and swap it out for the better joker. The actual chip value of my build right now isn't very high, but it's enough to get me through NT2, which is really all I need. Because I'm accumulating so much money, I'll be able to roll into good plus molt jokers in the later stages of the run. So right now I'm just trying to survive while all of my nice scaling plays can start to build up value. In the next shop I see a square joker, which I'm also really happy about. My build is going to get a lot of molts over time because I have the Flash Card, and so Square Joker gives me a source of scaling chips. So between Flash Card and Square Joker, both my chips and molts are going to scale, which effectively means that my build is finished. The only thing I'd really like to add is some kind of multiplicative source, because then I can combo that with Flash Card to push me over the value I need to finish the run. I'm okay with using a whole bunch of hands in this fight because every hand that I play is growing my Square Joker a little bit more, and of course because I have so many hands, I'm still going to win the fight thanks to Burglar. And sure, I'm losing some money from this, but that money is going into becoming chips for Square Joker, so I'm not that worried about it. In my next shop, I get extremely lucky and I see a Blueprint. Blueprint at this point functionally is a multiplicative card, like I was talking about before, because I can apply it to a molt joker and double up my molt. However, what I also realize is that I can use the Blueprint with Burglar in order to turn it into +6 hands instead of +3, which will multiply my score output, multiply the amount of money I get, and overall just be really productive. But what's really amazing is that once I've used the Blueprint and Burglar together, I can then switch the Blueprint onto Flash Card and use it to get molts as well. So effectively, I get to double 2 jokers in my inventory instead of 1, and that's why Blueprint is so magical. This movement and swapping is really the optimal way to play with it. Hieroglyph here is a really good pickup. I'm not buying it right now because I want to save the $10 just in case I see something more valuable, but I do buy this before the end of the ante. -1 hand is great because I already have 10 hands, so I can spare one of them, and -1 ante means that I get to see 3 extra shops for me to re-roll in, which means that I get to scale Flash Card by like I think 15 or 20 more molts, so Hieroglyph is really lucky here. And in the next fight, because I re-rolled so much, 1 hand is now worth 2,000 chips, and again I'm getting 10 of them, so my overall output is 20,000 per round, more than enough to beat the small blind. I'm also getting $17 per round, wow. And here I do finally buy the Hieroglyph. In the next fight, after even more re-rolls, I'm now scoring 8,000 chips per hand by ante 3, that is kinda crazy, and I'm still getting 21 gold per round. Normally you need a skip tag or something to get that much value. Here I actually leave the Blueprint on Burglar on purpose because I want to play more hands in order to grow Square Joker that much more. I'm technically leaving $1 on the table because I'm using 1 extra hand, but I'm willing to spend that dollar in order to put a little bit more chips onto Square Joker. Here I should have bought the voucher before I started rerolling. I don't know why I didn't. I think I just wasn't paying attention. And after a whole bunch of rerolls, my score per hand is now 11,000, which means that my overall chip output is now up to 110,000 18,000 chips per round. Here I finally buy the reroll voucher, and after breezing through a few more fights, I'm faced with the interesting decision of whether or not I want to buy the banana. The idea would be to buy it, hope that it gets consumed, and then later roll into Cavendish, but I decide that at NT4 I don't quite want to sell my golden joker yet because it's going to get me a lot of gold over the course of the run, and it's more reliable for me to get the guaranteed gold from golden joker as opposed to hope for the 1 in a million chance that I consume the Gros Michel and then re-roll into Cavendish. I could always just re-roll into ramen or something, so it's not worth it for me. Here I 3-shot the ball, a result I'm really happy with. I did forget to move the blueprint onto burglar, but it's not a big deal. I lose $3, I have enough money. And grabber is just kind of funny. I don't need it necessarily, but it does make everything else better, so might as well buy it. And now after even more re-rolling, I'm up to 18,000 chips per hand. Not bad at all. I do consider picking up bootstraps, but decide against it. Bootstraps and flashcard compete for value because with bootstraps you want to save up all of your money for a whole bunch of molts, but with flashcard you want to re-roll all of that money in order to level up flashcard. At the end of the day, I don't need two massive scaling jokers that compete with each other for resources, so I just stick with flashcard. This run's kind of boring from a decision-making standpoint. I mean, it was really fun to play, don't get me wrong, but I don't really have a ton to talk about in terms of, like, you know, strategy and stuff, so I'm kind of just talking as filler, but I assume that you're enjoying watching the gameplay, so I'm not going to interrupt it just yet. I will say over here that with holographic, I very strongly consider picking it up, but decide against it, because again, in order to buy it, I would need to sell my gold joker, and I still have a few more rounds left to get value out of it, and also, I'm not really sure if I'm going to see any standard packs to add cards to my deck, so holographic may or may not get value. If I do see like 5 standard packs in a row, great, I'm golden, but if I don't see any, then I'll feel really silly and wish I had the golden joker back. So now, finally, all the re-rolling has paid off, because I see duo, which gives me ×2 molts if my played hand contains a pair. Duo is nice because pairs are pretty easy to get, and ×2 is a really strong effect. Admittedly, I do prefer to play high card where I can, but I'm not going to pass up duo, that's for sure. So now, finally, I can sell my golden joker, buy the duo, and consider my build really just complete. These are all the jokers I'm going to get for the rest of the run. Everything in this setup gets me a ton of value. Burglar, of course, with the plus hands gives me more gold, more chip output. Flashcard at this point has like 100 something molts on it, so it is the primary source of molt for my entire build. The duo is the duo, it just multiplies it. And blueprint, of course, will simply complement whatever effect I need the most, which usually is going to be either molts or the hands effect from burglar. Once again here, I don't use the blueprint on the best possible card because I want to play a few more hands to level up square joker a little bit. At this point, honestly, I'm not totally sure if it matters or not, but it kind of felt right, so I just did it. But when the build is at its full potential, I'm scoring 100,000 chips per hand, and again, I'm getting 10 of those hands, so I can get up to like 1,000,000 chips in a round, which is good because before the end of the run, I am going to see the Violet Vessel, so I will need all of those chips. Paintbrush here does not get me a ton of value, but it does make it a little bit more consistent for me to get pairs, so I am pretty happy to see it. And for the rest of the run, I don't really make any more interesting buy-sell decisions. It's mostly just executing the build, which is pretty easy, just play a pair every hand, and just watching the numbers go. It's fun. This game is fun sometimes. The final boss is the Violet Vessel, which makes me really happy that I have Burglar and Blueprint together. Under most circumstances, this build actually would not be enough to kill the Violet Vessel, because if I'm getting 100,000 chips per hand, then multiply that by 4, and I only get 400,000 chips, which beats literally everything except for the Violet Vessel. But of course, because I have Burglar and Blueprint together, I am able to take down the Violet Vessel in style. Maybe a little bit closer than I would have liked, but it's not a big deal. So that was the run. Obviously, I had a lot of fun, and it was way more value than you usually get at gold stake, so I was pleased. The one thing that I do want to note is that this idea of moving the blueprint around, I think is generalizable to other aspects of strategy games and really life in general. I think that when you see a card like Blueprint, the possibility space for it is really, really wide. There's a lot of ways you can use it, a lot of situations you can put it in, and something that you want to do in your mind is go, okay, what is the best use for the blueprint? I'm going to stick it there and just leave it there, because then I don't have to think about it anymore. And our brains are lazy. We don't like to think too much, of course. But what I want to encourage you to do, both in games and in real life, is to try not to simplify too much. Sometimes you have to just to get your head around something, but other times thinking a little bit outside of the box and breaking away from the simplifications you've made can open up new possibilities to you. For example, what if I move the blueprint around during the game? What if I move this piece in chess in a way that I didn't expect? What if I say something a little different to this person that I think is a more interesting conversation, but I don't know for sure if it's going to work? You know, do a little experimenting, do a little trial and error sometimes, and I think you'll be pleased with the results. Thanks so much for watching. I've been Autumn Chu. I am your resident Balatro YouTuber. Leave a comment suggesting more video topics if there's anything you want to see from me, and subscribe if you want. You don't have to, but you can. But you don't have to. But you can. But you don't have to. But you can. But you don't have to. But you can.